Recently, I haven't been able to stop playing Brotato because this game is freaking awesome. The game combines two of the most American things, potatoes and guns. That's right, these cute little egg-like potatoes are packing everything from bare fists to nuke launchers using all 6 of their arms. Don't bother trying to figure out why they have 6 arms or why they're using nuke launchers. It makes perfect sense in universe. I mean, you gotta use something to fight aliens. One thing that I haven't been able to put my finger on for a while is what makes this game so awesome, which is in part why I'm making this video, because I've had a ton of fun with Brotato so far, and so if everyone who watches this video ends up playing it and liking it as much as I do, then that would make me really happy. Don't worry though, I know not everyone's gonna like it, not everyone's gonna play it, totally fine, but hey, I love sharing things that I love. Even from the first run, Brotato absolutely hooked me. So let me fire up the game. This is definitely not an excuse for me to start playing Brotato as part of making a video. I'm doing this for science, I'm doing this for you guys, not for me. But let's play around, and I'll talk a little bit about the game as I go. So once you load into Brotato, if you want to start a game, you just click Start. Then you get the character select screen, which won't look nearly this filled out. This is because I have every potato, I have 100% of the game. I'm gonna pick random, I got Cyborg. So you start with a minigun. Range damage modifications are increased by a ton, but your range damage is converted into engineering halfway through. So you kind of have to build range damage and also turret playstyle. I haven't played Cyborg very much, but he is a cool character. Some potatoes, like Cyborg, are very, very gimmicky. They only really have one build path. Others, not really so gimmicky, they're very generic. So let's grab a wrench. This way we have a ranged weapon to influence our drops and also a tool to influence our drops. When you load in, you got these aliens. They're kind of cute, but they want to murder you. So you need to shoot them. Or, bash them over the head with a wrench, all that fun stuff. And if the timer ticks down, you'll see it turn blue. That means right now I'm doing engineering damage rather than range damage. And that's the wave. Since I leveled up, I get to select one of these upgrades, and I'm going to go for some armor. I want to be tankier. Then here, I get to buy things. I could buy things like a pencil or some landmines, because why not commit a few war crimes against the aliens? Doesn't count. So for now, I'm not going to buy anything else. I'm going to take my money into the next wave and hope the shop offers me something more interesting, like, I don't know, maybe a good ranged weapon. But this way, I have these fun little landmines. All the weapons interact with aliens a little bit differently. The minigun shoots stuff from a distance. The landmines, when either you or an alien walks over them, like this, they go boom, dealing explosion damage and taking out any aliens in the vicinity. The first 5 waves are pretty much just basic enemies to get you going. However, in later waves, it gets very hectic and dangerous. Here, you know what? I'll get some shoulders for some range damage. I'll grab a tree. Trees give loot. That's really, really good. And I'll grab a wrench. No extra guns yet, but that's okay, because now I have a nice little turret nest to protect me. See, right now, I've got 6 engineering damage. This is because of my range damage conversion. That means my turrets and my mines hit really, really hard, but my minigun doesn't do that much anymore. Now I'm offered several upgrades again because I leveled up. I think I'll go with some luck. Now I get to choose a new tool. So let's get some more landmines. And I'll also take a screwdriver, even though I have one already, and I'll combine it. I now have a screwdriver 2. Weapons come in tier 1, 2, 3, and 4, with 4 being the best. This changes a lot of the different parameters. In the case of landmines, it causes them to spawn more frequently. And you know what? I'll also grab a shredder. Shredders are really good at AoEing lots of aliens because they have a chance to explode. Now, as you can see, there's some new enemy types. Those weird 3-eyed aliens, yeah, they shoot projectiles at you, if you let them live. So I prefer to just kill them before they do that. So jumping ahead a bit, I have a lot more of a build now, and I'm on wave 14. 14 is where things get really interesting because you start encountering elites. These are the boss fights in Brotato. They have their own mechanics, and some of them can be quite tough. So let's see if I survive a round. There's the elite. Big ol' alien with a bunch of weapons, and he fires out those projectiles. So you need to avoid the red lines while doing as much damage as possible. And I failed at avoiding there. Not so sure about the doing damage. I think I'm doing okay damage to him. Interesting thing here is he's about to get real angry at me. Because as aliens lose health, they do mutations, and this changes their patterns, and oh god, the entire thing can spiral out of control very quickly. That is the end of a run. Yeah, Cyborg is kind of super, super hard mode. Honestly, I'm not very good at playing Cyborg, because of the whole mix of ranged and turret stuff. It was right at that interchange where I stopped doing damage myself that I got completely overwhelmed and I died. That's a cool thing about Brotato. That's why I wanted to showcase one of the weirder characters, because there's tons of weird characters and they force you to play differently. And if you practice a little bit, a lot of them are really, really, really strong. If you don't practice enough with them, sometimes you get awkwardly overwhelmed. So one of the things I like a lot about Brotato is the way each potato has their own specialties and the way that interacts with the game's stat system to make for different runs each time you play. There's so many potatoes that I've only played once or twice, and it really does feel like a completely different playstyle from the other potatoes, even though it's kind of just pixels moving across a screen. I think in terms of character diversity, this game does a much better job than a lot of its competitors. For example, you have the Brawler, who specializes in beating up enemies with bare fists. Or you could play someone like the Wildling, where they have lifesteal with primitive weapons and they start with a stick, because who doesn't want to beat up tons of aliens with a stick? Or maybe you're feeling really spicy and you play Loud, the potato that attracts way more enemies, but has some other penalties, such as lowering harvesting at the end of each wave. I actually had one of the best runs ever on Loud where I got to wave 40, absolutely insane, double chain gun, double nuke launcher, and then I flashbanged myself constantly and ended up dying. But hey, that's just the price you pay to nuke everything on the screen. You can either pick a few characters that really appeal to the playstyles you enjoy, or mix and match and try them all. Which leads me to the second thing that Brotato does really, really well. It separates the buying phase from the gameplay phase. Because nothing is worse in a bullet heaven than being in the moment, dodging everything, slaughtering hundreds or thousands of baddies only to level up and then have to decide which shiny trinket you want to equip. In Brotato, you have very short rounds with a clearly visible timer at the top. There's no big 30-minute countdown or anything like that. Starts off with simple aliens for the first 5 waves, then gets more complicated later. You'll have to dodge enemy charges. Then you'll have to face elites with telegraphed mechanics, avoid ranged projectiles, and even take down the boss if you're able. Then once the round ends, you get to apply all the experience that you got from killing aliens to your potato, leveling up all of your basic stats. Things like damage, attack speed, range damage, defenses like armor, and even getting more health. Ideally, you kind of want to balance these, the damage stats that benefit you the most, avoiding the ones that don't benefit you at all, maybe balancing out some penalties to your speed, and overall making a nice, well-rounded beast. After that, you head over into the shop to spend your hard-earned materials on item upgrades. Most potatoes are able to use 6 weapons. Each one has tags, and you get bonuses for using multiple weapons of the same tag. So for example, if you want to increase your health, then get a bunch of weapons that are primitive. On the other hand, if you want to increase your range, then grab a bunch of guns. Stacking multiple weapons of the same tag also makes it easier to get more weapons of that type in the shop, which really encourages you to build synergistically. As you stack them, you always feel like you get lucky. You happen to get that really awesome thing that you needed. That's just good game design. The other cool thing about this is how items work in Brotato. Because normally artifacts or bonuses or whatever, you pick from them and it heavily incentivizes that you just always take the rarest, or at the very least the rarest which synergizes with your build. But Brotato's items are kind of different. They're very heavily tied to the game's stat system, where there's a bonus and a penalty. It's not just about the rarest, because sometimes the rarest has a penalty that is absolutely crippling to your build. So you want to pick something that complements the weapons that you plan to use or your potato. A good example of this would be some potatoes cannot use ranged weapons. Others can't use melee weapons. So on a potato that can't use melee weapons, losing range damage to get melee damage is never going to help you. It's a terrible idea. On the other hand, some potatoes thrive on speed, so locking your speed or locking your max health, while it might provide powerful short-term bonuses, could absolutely screw you over long term. I had this happen on King. I had a super crazy run, was going really, really well, but I'd locked my HP early for some bonuses, and that's what caused me to lose by wave 30. I think with the crazy weapons I had, I could have gone much farther if only I'd been gaining HP consistently. So in terms of stats, you've got primary and secondary. Some of them do exactly what you'd think. Melee damage increases the damage dealt by melee weapons, range damage increases the damage dealt by ranged weapons, and elemental damage increases the damage dealt by elemental weapons and their effects. Others are a little more complicated, like engineering, that increases the damage of turrets, but turrets don't scale off of most of your stats. They're basically minions from your favorite ARPG. You've also got defensive stats, which of course make you tankier, and non-combat stats. Harvesting that gets you more materials at the end of a round. It's pretty cool and a good way to build up your economy, or luck, which gets you better items in the shop. These do tend to be more expensive, but it means you'll spend less time rerolling and more time getting what you want, like those shiny nuke launchers. Then there's secondary stats. These are things like piercing damage, which also doesn't necessarily work the way you think, because it increases the damage of a thing as it pierces, rather than increasing the damage of piercing type weapons explicitly. Pierce being a mechanic where, you hit an alien to hit the aliens behind it. There's also bounce, which, causes your projectiles to ricochet around the map. And there's a lot to learn in terms of a primary and secondary stats. In that regard, I strongly advise that you dive into the wiki once you want to get good at the game and really learn how it works. That said, I've played for a very long time without doing any of that just because most of it's intuitive enough that you'll have a good time with the game without getting into the nitty-gritty. Normally the game consists of 20 waves. But if you defeat wave 20, and if you select the option to, you can go on to endless mode, where you just go until you die, with ever-increasing aliens, more damage, multiple bosses all stacked together. It gets totally insane, and I love it. So how do these elites work? Well, they appear at set waves to ruin your day. These are the baddest of the bad aliens. If Independence Day had these guys, Earth wouldn't have stood a chance. And each elite has their own moveset, which consists of red telegraphs on the ground. Easy, right? Well, keep in mind, you also have to dodge all the other aliens trying to kill you and using their moves. Where it gets really interesting is, after a short time or after the elite's taken enough damage, it mutates, changing up the attack pattern and ramping the difficulty. In general, their first pattern will be quite easy to avoid, then the second or third pattern will get incrementally more difficult, and in some cases impossible because you messed up, didn't get enough AoE damage, didn't get enough single target damage, or otherwise painted yourself into a corner. Yes, you will die a lot in Brotato, but the good thing is, you kind of know that you messed up and you know what to do better next time. Another thing I love is the way material collection at the end of a round is handled. Because I'm just sitting here, blasting aliens, living my best potato life, and the round ends. What do you expect me to do? Collect all those things in the middle of all the aliens? Come on, there was a dangerous boss, I had to kill that first. In most games, your precious EXP and materials would go to waste, but not so in Brotato, fear not. No, it is all collected, put in a big old pool, and used in the next round to get you bonus drops. That's awesome, and I absolutely love it, because it completely removes the FOMO or feels bad moments that I often got in other games like this. So as you keep playing, you unlock more potatoes, higher difficulties, and new items to continue down the path of true potato mastery. Some builds like explosions that clear masses of enemies in an instant, vaporizing any alien foolish enough to stand near its friends. Others unleash devastation on a very near targeted location, stand next to the elite, and watch it absolutely melt. And some, like the pacifist, don't do damage to enemies at all primarily. You just want to crowd control them and run in circles to collect your loot. But in addition to all this, you don't just worry about damage, you also need to balance your defenses. Armor reducing the damage you take, health to determine how much damage you can take, and dodge to avoid that damage entirely. You'll also probably need a way to recover, be it picking up fruit from the floor. Yep, that's right, Vampire Survivors had floor chicken, and in Brotato we have floor fruit. They look a little weird, but trust me, they taste totally fine. I don't think they'll kill you anyway. I've eaten plenty of them, and I'm still here. Or alternatively, you can do lifesteal, which is, of course, from hitting enemies. There's some unique recovery mechanics here and there tied to items, and health regen is always a consistent way to heal. Though again, some potatoes will disable one or multiple of those mechanics. Because, for example, the sick potato has plus 12 to max health, 25% lifesteal, so sick is really good at healing by hitting enemies, takes 1 damage per second, continually, because after all, you're sick, and has minus 100 HP regen. So you could get HP regen and HP regen and HP regen and waste a ton of stats and put yourself way behind the power curve, just to get a little bit of regen. Or alternatively, you could pretend HP regen doesn't exist, grab all the items that lower it further because it's not a penalty if it doesn't apply, and get yourself a bunch of sick bonuses that way. The sound design is also impeccable. There's simple little beeps and boops, but everything has a purpose. You can tell when your ranged weapons are impacting an enemy, the nice meaty sound of your fist connecting to an alien's face. There's even some sounds to alert you of different aliens being on the screen so that you can interact with them properly. This is one of a few games where even after playing it for a very long time, I haven't muted it yet because the sounds are helpful and I like hearing them. And at the end of the day, that's why I keep coming back to Brotato. That's why I can't put it down even after 100%ing the game. There's all these really cool mechanical synergies and ways to turn penalties into bonuses by taking items that reward you for taking the things your potato's good at and don't punish you because it's already a negative. Sure, you have to play around. You can't get that consistent life regen on Sick. Or maybe you can't end up using ranged weapons on Gladiator. But that means you get so many awesome melee weapons that it doesn't even feel bad, and you can sacrifice that range damage. Any item that uses range damage as a dump stat, yep, It's exactly like D&D, where you pick charisma as a dump stat, you hide behind a bard, and you hit things real hard with that stick. Plus, there's just a little element of discovery there, where I feel smart for discovering these things. And then I play through the game and get to wave 30 and realize, no, actually, I made huge mistakes and I can do better next time. Paired with feeling smart are those moments where you feel a little bit dumb, but it's always a learning experience and good fun all around. So if you enjoy bullet heaven games, you've played, let's say, Vampire Survivors or Death Must Die, I can absolutely recommend checking out Brotato. I've fallen in love with this game. I can't wait to see what this does in terms of influencing other games within the genre, and now I have to go play a game of Brotato or two. With that said, I'm curious, what are some of your favorite Survivor-like or bullet heaven games? Leave them down below and you might see them covered in a future video. And then be sure to get subscribed so you don't miss the video if I talk about your favorite game. Also, if you have any interest in the genre, please go check out Brotato. It's an awesome indie gem. I think it deserves way more attention, and I've had a ton of fun playing it. But hey, if you want to see my thoughts on some other bullet heaven games, I'll leave them down below. I have a video on Vampire Survivors, a video on Death Must Die, and a video on the recently released into early access Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. Links to those will be up in the card and down below. You can also find several similar games over on my second channel, which is linked in the description. So far, I've had a ton of fun playing Brotato, ton of fun sharing Brotato, as I really do like sharing the games that I enjoy with other people. So there's a very good chance that you're going to see more Brotato content either here or on my second channel in the future. Before I go though, a big thanks to my patrons and channel members for the continued support. You can help me support videos like this and make sure I don't have to worry about the YouTube algorithm and can instead focus on talking about games I love. Link to support is down below. Also, a big thanks to everyone who watched to the end. I hope you liked watching this as much as I liked making it. Hey, if you like this, there's more to come, so I'll see you in the next one.